What is up, CWC? It is Tuesday night, July 25th. This is the Casual Wrestling Show, the #1 rated pro wrestling podcast meant specifically for casual wrestling fans. I am the Notorious NerdyD, and if you could do me a quick solid, take a second to hit the like button if you're on YouTube, or leave me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast network. We have a lot to talk about tonight. I have to file another missing persons report. I have some thoughts on Bray Wyatt possibly returning, but first, let's talk some smack. So, another disappointing SmackDown, and I'm starting to wonder if it's SmackDown or is it me? See, the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've come into Friday night SmackDown expecting to see something from LA Knight. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been left with nothing but disappointment. See, week 1, LA Knight no-showed. Week 2, we got a 2-minute promo of LA Knight claiming he was going to be the next United States champion. Now, week 3, we get LA Knight losing the 7th match in a row. LA Knight is on a 7-match losing streak. So another loss, this time in a fatal 4-way match. Come on, man. What are we doing here, WWE? I don't want to do this, but I've looked at my calendar. I've looked at the next couple of weeks. I know we're heading into SummerSlam, and I'm afraid to say it. If something doesn't happen, if there is not the beginning of a story for LA Knight at SummerSlam, the episode of this podcast after the SummerSlam, it's official. We are hosting the funeral of LA Knight's career. I don't like this idea. I see people on the internet running around saying, as long as LA Knight's on TV, you shouldn't worry about it. No, guys, listen, I like winners. I don't watch wrestling just to see guys on TV. I want to see my favorite wrestler win. Now, he doesn't have to win titles. I get it. He doesn't have to be United States champion. He doesn't need to win the World Heavyweight Championship. He doesn't need to dethrone Roman Reigns. But what he doesn't need to do is lose a fatal 4-way match to Rey Mysterio. I don't like it. There's no reason that LA Knight needed to be in that match other than Triple H giving the fucking middle finger to every person who has gotten behind LA Knight at this point. That's what that is. Triple H does not have to put him in that fatal 4-way match for the Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio story to make sense. But here we are. What, 1 week away from SummerSlam, LA Knight's not on the card. Your biggest superstar. He's the biggest now. Listen with your ears, people. Listen when he comes out. He's getting a bigger pop than Roman Reigns. He's getting a bigger pop than Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Brock Lesnar. LA Knight is the guy, and it's right now, and I'm not sure how long that lasts. I'm not positive that you can turn that 7-match losing streak into 8, into 9, into 10, and that fans are going to continue to ride on the LA Knight train. I'm not positive about it. I've seen this happen before. I've seen this happen with guys like Dolph Ziggler. I've seen this happen to guys like Daniel Bryan. We see this isn't the first time that WWE's done this, but WWE drone here, I guess. I fall back into the trap thinking, and not this time. This time they're going to push LA Knight. You know why they got to push LA Knight? Because he's got the number 1, he's got the number 3, and he's got the number 4 selling t-shirt in the WWE shop. But he's not on SummerSlam. Somebody explain how do you justify that? He's got the number 1, the number 3, and the number 4 selling t-shirt of the month, and he's not on the SummerSlam card a week and a half out from the show. Stop telling me that his push is coming. You guys told me that after WrestleMania. You guys told me that after Backlash. You guys told me at Money in the Bank he didn't win the briefcase because he was in line for a United States champion shot. Stop telling me that. People like to cheer for winners. People don't cheer for people on 7-match losing streaks. It doesn't last that long. You have lightning in a motherfucking bottle. You've got to capture it. You've got to take advantage. And they are going to do the same thing WWE always does, and they are going to wait until it is cooled off, and then once it's cooled off, they're going to go, let's try it, but the fans aren't behind him anymore. It won't work, and then they'll go, see, he wasn't that guy. And I go, fuck you. He was that guy. You just waited too long. The other thing I want to talk about on SmackDown is let's talk about, if we're going to talk about bad booking, let's talk about the United States Championship. Let's be realistic and let's talk about it. Let's talk about the long fall from grace for the United States Championship, because I said this shit 4 months ago when they tried to sell us, and the IWC and a bunch of WWE fans told me they can do this, but they tried to sell us on this idea that the United States Championship was the biggest championship on Monday Night Raw, and we're supposed to take it serious because they're putting it in the main event and Seth Rollins is holding the title, so you guys should take it serious. Then what happens? Then Austin Theory wins it. Then Austin Theory gets drafted to SmackDown. Well, SmackDown's Roman show. Well, then we bring a new title, the new World Heavyweight title. And now, once again, the United States Championship, it's not even a mid-card title at this point. It's a step below. The way I look at it is you've got Roman's belt, you've got Seth's belt, you've got Gunther's belt, and then way down on the bottom somewhere, you've got Austin Theory's belt. We could have had, at SummerSlam, mind you, we could have had LA Knight versus Austin Theory, a match that would have been the beginning of the LA Knight story. It could have been a resurgence for Austin Theory and his heel run, because how better to get your heel over than to put him against the biggest baby face in the company? I don't even care if you're beginning a program that lasts 3 to 6 months and LA Knight loses to Austin Theory in a story that makes sense. I'm all about that. Instead, what we have right now is Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, the winner of that, going on to face Theory, and what I'm being told is a SmackDown match. It's not even going to be on SummerSlam. What are we doing, WWE? What are we doing? You are foregoing possibly the biggest pop of the night by putting LA Knight into a SummerSlam match for the United States Championship. And instead, you're going to go for, I don't even know, who is this phantom Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio audience that they keep telling me about? Now, I understand WWE just went to Mexico. I've read the articles that WWE wants a prominent Mexican champion. All right, cool. I don't agree with those kind of booking decisions, but to each their own. What I do want to know is, where is this fan base that they keep talking about? Who is it that's clamoring for this match? Because I've got my ear to the casuals. That's my people. And I dabble in the world of the IWC because I have to infiltrate and see what they're talking about. And neither side is overly excited for Santos Escobar. Now, people like Santos Escobar. I like Santos Escobar. Do I think he's more over than LA Knight? There's not a chance. But serious question. Because I look at the merchandise charts and they try to tell me LWO merch just moves off the fucking shelves. But here's the problem. Does LWO merch move off of the shelves because of the current members? Because of Rey Mysterio, Zelina Vega, the two other guys that I have no fucking clue what their name are, and Santos Escobar? Or does LWO merchandise move in the same way that Stone Cold merchandise moves, in the fact that there's a nostalgia factor, that Eddie Guerrero made a brand extremely popular and it still sells every time you produce that t-shirt? I'm going to go with that one. I don't think that Santos Escobar is out here just moving merchandise. Now, I know Rey Mysterio has a following of children, but I don't see just an overabundance. They want Rey Mysterio merch. I don't think that little kids want the LWO stuff. I don't. It's Eddie Guerrero's moving that merchandise. Because, I mean, someone tell me, did Legado del Fantasma merch just fly off the shelves? If they were so big, why did you have to convert them to LWO? None of that makes sense to me. And so now here we are, Austin Theory completely buried. I mean, he's done. Stick a fork in Austin Theory. He's done. There's nothing you can do to fix this man except give him a 3 to 6 month vacation, have him come back at the Royal Rumble holding his fucking cell phone and going back to the gimmick that got him over in the first place. That's it. Other than that, you've cooked Austin Theory. You've just humiliated the United States Championship. And now what am I I'm supposed to give a shit? I don't give a shit anymore. Last thing about SmackDown is Jey Uso apparently, I read, is undefeated at SummerSlam. And that led me to, they kind of got the wheels turning inside my head. This is one of those things. WWE likes these little quips, these little did you knows. Did you know that Jey Uso is undefeated at SummerSlam? He's 4-0. What does that mean for this match? What does that mean for Roman Reigns? What does that mean for the Bloodline? I'll tell you what it means. It means Jey Uso is losing at SummerSlam. It means that Roman Reigns is going to get his get back for what happened at Money in the Bank. I know there are this group of fans running around with these extremely high hopes of Jey Uso winning the WWE undisputed title at SummerSlam and the savior of the WWE and the Bloodline story. Well, it's not ending. This isn't the end. We got here too fast. And I can tell you it's not the ending, because I can tell you the little tricks they're playing on SmackDown, this isn't the end. This match is now a tribal combat match. I don't really know what that means, but you know what? They named a whole episode after setting this up, so I feel like this is supposed to be important. This is an important beat in the story, but this isn't the final chapter. Now, I'm going to say something about a tribal combat match. Triple H. When you label something a tribal combat match, this is going to have to be big. This has to be ceremonial. We damn near need to be teleported to the Anoa'i family homeland for a match that is bigger than pro wrestling. We are going to need elders there. We are going to need anybody who is a part of this family needs to be present. I don't care what checks you have to write. I don't care what phone calls. I don't care if you got to kiss Tony Khan's ass, if you got to kiss people in indie companies' ass. I don't know where they all are, but you better round them all up and have them present, because you are labeling this the fucking tribal combat match. This has to be that moment when we see Rikishi. This has to be that moment when we see Afa, when we see Sika. This has to be the moment when the Samoan dynasty shows up to represent. And at the end of this match, more than likely, it's going to be a no finish. There's going to be confusion. We're going to split this up. This is going to continue moving. Whether it's Jimmy getting involved, whether it's Solo getting involved, whether it's Rikishi getting involved, something's going to happen to murk up the finish of this story, and this is not where it ends. This story ends at WrestleMania 40. You can't explain to me otherwise. It doesn't make sense. You did this for too long. There's no reason that this match would end at SummerSlam. Write it down. Book it, put it in an envelope, send it in. That is what's happening. This is not the end. So CWC, last week we were able to do the unthinkable and locate a missing person based on the success of our tweets, our Instagram posts, just looking out for that person. So it's only right that we do it again this week. I'm going to file another missing persons report. Our subject of investigation this week is none other than the one named Rick Boogs. Once a prominent figure in the WWE universe, their abrupt absence has raised the eyebrows of fans and left us yearning for answers. Their last known appearance was on May 19th, 2023 as LA Knight's tag team partner. And since then, it seems that they have stepped away and become lost in the shadows. Now, our focus here at the CWC is to reach out to devoted and keen wrestling enthusiasts to help us unravel this mystery. We urge you to share any relevant leads, any sightings or hearsay that may help us in the CWC locate Rick Boogs. Your insights are crucial to our mission. In return for your invaluable assistance, we might just reward the most accurate lead with an exclusive shout out on next week's episode as a token of appreciation for your detective work. As we delve into this week's mystery, let's take a moment to revisit last week's case. Last week, we spotlighted the WWE superstar Aaliyah, and our response was phenomenal. Thanks to the CWC's help, we have managed to unearth some fascinating information about Aaliyah. Apparently, it seems that she has recovered from whatever injury she had. It seems like she's doing well, and she's posting a lot of pictures of herself riding horses. So she's just waiting on WWE to make that call to allow her to return back to the rings. So that brings us to a close of this week's WWE Missing Person Report. The search for Rick Boogs continues, and we are eager for your participation. Until next week, stay tuned, stay observant, and let's get raw. Another good Monday Night Raw this week. No, I mean, the 3 hours flies by when you put decent quality programming on television. I thought that Monday Night Raw for the second, maybe third week in a row was the better of the two mainstay WWE television programs. And that's saying a lot because SmackDown has dominated probably for the last couple of years. One of the biggest things that I noticed on Monday Night Raw this week was how big of a deal the Judgment Day seems to be. And Triple H has actually begun to take the Judgment Day serious. And it looks like the Judgment Day are going to be a quality faction for the foreseeable future. Dirty Dom main evented every show last week. SmackDown, Raw, and NXT. I think that's the first time that's ever been done in WWE history. Shout out to Dominic. This is what Dom needs. They got mad at me last week when I talked about Dom being relegated to NXT. They're going to get mad at me this week when I talk about, once again, still the right decision, and absolutely even more so now, Dom being put on every show and giving every possible rep that he can be given is the exact right decision for Dominic Mysterio and for the Judgment Day. The more you can saturate WWE television with the Judgment Day, the more they become a big deal. It's just reality. And now, after Monday Night Raw, it looks like Dom and Damian are primed for a tag team title run. We might have to pump the brakes on this idea that Finn Balor is winning at SummerSlam and Damian Priest is cashing in. I think I overreacted. I think I might have pushed the gas down too fast on that one. The reality is that doesn't have to happen at SummerSlam. That doesn't have to happen to Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. There's a story to be told for the next 3 or 4 months of Damian Priest teasing that cash in, of the Judgment Day slowly coming apart. Right now, the Judgment Day, they're probably, as a unit outside of LA Knight, the next hottest thing on WWTV. So there's no reason. I can't when I start to think logically, there's no reason to break the Judgment Day up right now. It makes more sense to let that tension build. You just came out with a whole new line of Judgment Day merchandise, and a lot of it features them as an entire group. Why piss that group of people off? You've got this cohesive unit that's seemingly working together. It looked like they were teasing a new member, then they backed off because I think that this original core four started to get over, and there's just no reason to mess that up right now. It's the same thing I say about AEW, Adam Cole, and MJF. I get you had a plan. I get you knew exactly where the story was going, and you had an ending, but sometimes, this goes for LA Knight as well, sometimes things happen that are outside of what you thought was going to happen when you rode that storyline to its finish, and you go, we got to turn this thing. We got to turn this ship. We could get a lot more out of this than we originally thought, and the Judgment Day is one of those moments. There was a point in time they were dead in the water. Now, fast forward 6 months, they're the biggest faction, probably even bigger than the Bloodline, because the Bloodline are splintered at this point, but they're the biggest cohesive faction in all of wrestling. And there's no reason to tear that apart at this point. You have time. If you're building towards something at Survivor Series, you still have time. If you're building towards something at Crown Jewel, you still have time. There's no reason it has to happen at SummerSlam, and there's no reason it needs to happen at the Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. Finn's on a roll. Damien's on a roll. As much as I talk about Dominic Mysterio's skill set, I will not deny that he is over with the crowd. Now, if that's trickery, if that's magic, whatever it is, whatever WWE's done to make this happen, I'm not going to argue that, because as a casual fan, that's the ticket. That's what I want. I don't care about the X's and O's. I just want you to get over with the crowd. So as far as I'm concerned, Dom is over with the crowd. I just worry about longevity with Dom, but not going to get into that right now. Then you have Rhea Ripley, who's possibly the diamond of this group, the biggest star within this group, which is saying a lot when you have Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor, that Rhea Ripley is the biggest superstar in this group. You have all, why break this up? Bigger question is, who is Rhea's opponent at SummerSlam? Because there's no way you cannot not have LA Knight and Rhea Ripley, your possibly two biggest stars in your company, not on the SummerSlam card. That's not happening. So who is it? We just found out that Liv Morgan's really hurt. It's not a story injury. She's really hurt. I have ideas for Liv in the future. So did this just move the Raquel Rodriguez timeline forward? Because I think the original plan here was to go SummerSlam, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, which would lead into a story with Raquel Rodriguez down the line, possibly at WrestleMania 40. Does this alter that? Does Liv Morgan being hurt, can you pull? I think you can. I think you can pull Rodriguez back into this story. I don't know that you could sell me on Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez as being WrestleMania worthy just based on the way they've booked Raquel Rodriguez for the past 6 months. It would have took a lot of work moving forward in the next 6 months to get me to believe that's a big deal. I still believe, Becky, Charlotte, those are the matches. You don't do Charlotte Rhea again, but you could do Becky and Rhea. You could do Bianca. I think Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley is the match for WrestleMania. So I'm not hurt by the idea that we've got to speed this timeline up to get to Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. And I'm not even, in thinking about it, sure that they were waiting until WrestleMania. This might have been Liv at SummerSlam and Raquel at Payback. Like, it may have been a shorter time frame. And they could just flip that around, do it another way, whatever they want to do. But I think Rhea Ripley gets Raquel Rodriguez at SummerSlam. But the Judgment Day, they appear to be firing on all cylinders. They ran, when they say they run Monday Night Raw, boy, they ran Monday Night Raw. They were all over. They put their stamp all over that episode. And anybody who listens to this show knows I love episodes of wrestling where there is a continuous through line. When one person shows up multiple times, kind of driving that episode forward. I don't love wrestling episodes that are just segment, show's over. I like when Roman shows up at the beginning, there's a Roman segment in the middle, and then we finish with something Roman. I like having the Judgment Day at the beginning, have a little Judgment Day here, a little Judgment Day here, and then we finish with the Judgment Day. It makes wrestling feel more episodic, like a television show having a short and a long arc. So I like that. So I don't think we're breaking them up anytime soon. I've changed my mind. I thought for sure, the story we're telling here is going to be Finn Balor beats Seth Rollins, Damian cashes in. I think that's just too obvious at this point. I think the more realistic solution is they ride this thing out as long as they can. Second thing I want to talk about from Monday Night Raw is, and this is a tough thing to say because I'm a big fan of Gunther. But is it time for Gunther to drop the Intercontinental Championship? There's a part of me that feels like the Intercontinental Championship is a little bit of a burden and a weight, not only on Gunther, but on Imperium as a whole. See, I don't think SummerSlam is where it happens. I don't think SummerSlam is going to be the end of Drew McIntyre versus Gunther. I think this is the beginning of a story that runs probably all the way through like Crown Jewel. But I think that the Intercontinental Championship, as far as Gunther goes, I think he's almost done such a good job with it that he's risen above it. Exactly what you're supposed to do with a mid-card title. They did. They did exactly that. He elevated the title elevated him, everything. He can leave that story knowing he milked everything out of it. But at this point, I don't know what's left for Gunther in that role. It is time for Gunther to ascend to the big boys, to the big boy league. He needs to be playing in the pool with Seth Rollins. He needs to be playing in the pool with Roman Reigns. He needs to be playing in the pool with the guys who are carrying around the big hardware, not the Intercontinental Championship. It's guys like Ludwig. Ludwig needs to go after something like an Intercontinental Championship or United States Championship. Because I think he has become the victim of all of this Intercontinental shenanigans that Gunther's involved in, because he just becomes the scapegoat for every person who wants to go after Gunther. It's Ludwig who pays the price. And he's just too good to be a sidekick forever. And I'm being told by people in the Discord that Da Vinci's not half bad either. Now, I mean, they don't show enough for me to know that. So as far as I'm concerned, he's still just the bald guy. But maybe there's something there. But I think as long as Gunther is the Intercontinental Champion, the other guys in Imperium will suffer. And let's be realistic. The Intercontinental Championship, there's one place that belt needs to be after Gunther. That is on the waist of Sheamus. And now how do we get there? I can tell you how I'd like to get there. Let's play this Drew thing out with Gunther for the next 3 or 4 months. Whatever it is. I think it's at Crown Jewel. Right before Crown Jewel, I think Gunther will become the longest ever Intercontinental Champion of all time. I think that's what they're going for. Obviously, WWE loves this idea of these tremendous title runs that get labeled with these prestigious, accolades of longest ever. So I think we're going to have to ride this out all the way to Crown Jewel. I think at Crown Jewel, you go Drew McIntyre versus Gunther, a rematch of whatever happens here. But at that point, Drew McIntyre should go over Gunther, take the Intercontinental Championship away from him, and hold it all the way to WrestleMania, where at WrestleMania, it should be Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus should go over and become a Grand Slam champion, and Drew can be in there with him to hug him, and we can have a big celebration for that. That's how that should work. But at this point, I feel like we're going through the motions with Gunther. I think we're in holding for whatever happens with the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that if you're looking at the timeline, right, I think we go Seth Rollins champion now. I think Finn Balor is going to be the next champion. I think from Finn Balor, we're going to transition to Damian Priest. And I think that at WrestleMania 40, whoever is champion, assuming it's Damian Priest, it's going to be Damian Priest versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm all about that. I'm okay. Even though I'd rather have LA Knight versus Gunther, I think would be fun. But I'm okay if that's Gunther is well deserving of that role. Last part of Smack Talk this week, or Talking Smack this week. There's rumors running around, guys. My boy Goss, he's got me excited. Bray Wyatt is said to be returning at SummerSlam in one of 3 potential spots. In one of the main event matches, Bray Wyatt is going to make his presence felt. So let's look at that, because here we go. WWE likes to label everything a main event. So we've got 3 main events at SummerSlam. We've got Roman versus Jay. 0 chance that Bray Wyatt shows up here. You don't run a story this deep and this involved that has involved a family and call it a tribal match or whatever to have some outsider get involved. It's just not happening. You're not closing the show that way. That match is going to close in chaos, confusion. I guarantee it. I would bet my life Bray does not show up there. Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. This is interesting because I would like Bray Wyatt to show up here. I would like us to build towards Survivor Series being Judgment Day versus the Wyatt family. But I don't think that's what we're getting. I think it's much more likely that in Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, the reason that we haven't had some big stipulation yet, it's my bet that this is where Bray Wyatt shows up. And it's because I believe that Bray Wyatt is ultimately the perfect character for the next step in the Cody Rhodes journey, because Bray Wyatt absolutely loves the idea of the mind game, and Cody Rhodes is absolutely engulfed in a story about his father and success and finishing his story. And those are all things that Bray will eat away at. They can do this all the way through Royal Rumble, probably, with Bray Wyatt as slow as he moves. And you know, you can have Cody facing different members of this new Wyatt family or whatever it is, but it makes sense. It just absolutely makes sense to have Cody Rhodes go against Bray Wyatt post Brock Lesnar. It gets Brock out of the picture. Brock can go do what Brock does, and it gives Cody the next story as we're in holding to get to WrestleMania 40, where I think he ultimately is the one to go up against Roman Reigns. Now, that leaves us with the question. Is there a Wyatt family 2.0? Is there still a Wyatt 6? Are these still a thing? Because, I mean, we were being teased at one point that there were 6 superstars that were going to be in the Wyatt family, or the Wyatt 6. That Bray Wyatt didn't want to be the Fiend anymore. He wanted to be this new character, and he wanted to bring around, you know, a cast of misfits. And so that leads me to the question, who's the Wyatt 6? Let's just play make-believe. Let's fantasy book for a minute. Who's the Wyatt family 2.0? Bray Wyatt. We know he's in there. We all assume it's Bo Dallas' Uncle Howdy. Then it gets interesting. Everybody's got a different mix of what they want. I think it was Alexa Bliss. I've said this numerous times. I think it was Alexa Bliss, but I think at this point, Alexa Bliss is doing the family thing. I don't think she's going to be in a rush to get back to wrestling, so I think they've had to audible. Liv Morgan just got hurt. Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, there's a lot of similarity between those characters. We saw a tease early on of Liv kind of slipping into a supernatural kind of psychosis state. So it's not a hard decision to believe that Liv could be swayed into the Wyatt 6. Also, significant other, Bo Dallas. It just makes sense. That just makes sense. It's fun to work with your significant other. Then we get real interesting. Who are the other 3? Everybody's got a different list of names, but I'll give you mine. I'll talk about mine. Number 1, Eric Rowan. I like the callback to the original Wyatt family. I think that there's some tribute there. I like the ties. I think him and Bray have chemistry. I think it absolutely works. I think it has to be Eric Rowan as one of them. I like Karrion Kross. And I know that breeds some questions about Scarlett, but I don't think you really have to explain why Scarlett's hanging around other than she's just Karrion's, sidekick. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean she doesn't have to be part of the 6. But last, Corbin. I like the idea of Corbin being in the Wyatt. He has nothing else to do. He has a good look. He could play it from a loner standpoint. Not necessarily as supernatural as everybody else is, but he could more be just a loner who has found, a pack of misfits to roll with. That's who I like. So I like Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas, Liv Morgan, Baron Corbin, Karrion Kross, and Eric Rowan. You guys let me know who you would put in the Wyatt Six in the comment section of this video. Let me know. But that wraps up my Getting Raw segment for the week, which leaves us with probably more questions than answers. I can tell you one thing that doesn't need to be questioned, and that is this new segment called the Pro Wrestling Trade Machine. All right, so the rules to the Pro Wrestling Trade Machine are simple. I will play the role of Triple H and propose a WWE trade to Tony Khan. Then we as the CWC get to approve or veto that trade that will most likely send the IWC into a mental breakdown or some kind of internet spiral that they go on. But the names that I'm entering into the Pro Wrestling Trade Machine this week are, as Triple H and WWE, I am offering Ricochet and Mustafa Ali to Tony Khan and AEW for MJF. You guys let me know, is this trade approved or denied? Can we move forward? Are we getting MJF in the WWE? All right, so it's time to talk a little bit of AEW for casuals here this week. Once again, not a lot to talk about, just kind of the same beats that I've been paying attention to in AEW is what I'm paying attention to still. One interesting thing I wanted to talk about this week, and this I'm going to rope the IWC back into the casual community and talk to you guys a little bit. And I want to talk about, hey guys, hey IWC, how does it feel to be fans of sports entertainment? Because you guys have spent the last 4 or 5 years telling me that I'm a sports entertainment fan. I'm not a pro wrestling guy. It's never bothered me. If we're going to define the lines that way, sure. I'm a sports entertainment fan. But hold up, guys. Adam Cole and MJF, those two look a lot like sports entertainers to me. They're not doing all the flippy flip shit. They're not doing all the IWC shit. Matter of fact, there was a dance break in the middle of an AEW match, and I didn't see any IWC outcry for it. All I see is the IWC heralding MJF and Adam Cole Bebe as the next big things in AEW. You guys are going to have to explain this to me, because you spend day and night on Twitter and wrestling forums trying to break down the nuances of WWE wrestling, and you tell us it's sports entertainment with all this stupid shit, and R-Truth and Carmella, they dance in the middle of the ring. Now your guys are doing it. Where's the outpour? How do you guys explain this? How do you guys explain that the top selling shirt of 2023 is the shirt of two AEW sports entertainers? The Better Than You Bebe t-shirt is the highest selling shirt of 2023 from AEW. You know what this proves? This proves two things. It proves, number one, sports entertainment is what sells tickets. Sports entertainment is what moves television ratings. Sports entertainment is what makes fans happy. What it proves, secondly, nobody buys Kenny Omega or Young Bucks merch. You don't see that shit out on the street. You rarely see it from the super duper hardcore fucking nerds and AEW fans. But I've been telling you guys this. This is a real metric. It gets argued all the time. People try to tell me that t-shirt sales are not a metric. They're 100%. They are a metric for what is popping in the world of wrestling. It's just reality. Dominic Mysterio did not get his own t-shirt until the Judgment Day and his rise on the booing thing that's going on. Before then, he didn't move the needle. You don't get a t-shirt. That's just reality. And so when you look at the metrics, CM Punk shirts sell. That's interesting. IWC doesn't like him. Adam Cole and MJF shirts sell. There's a lot of the IWC that doesn't like Adam Cole and MJF. There's a lot that are trying to convert, trying to sell us on this idea that they're AEW guys, but they're not. I think it'll be a really telling moment this week on Saturday Night Collision when FTR, who FTR are a very IWC tag team. Even though they align themselves with CM Punk, they are a tag team that the IWC takes pride in and tells you they don't need bells, they don't need whistles, they just wrestle hardcore, old school, in your face, tell a story style wrestling. And that's what you don't understand as a casual fan. You don't understand how good this is. Well, I will tell you what I understand. This Saturday is going to be very telling because you're going to have FTR, the indie darling tag team, going against MJF and Adam Cole, who are they are a sports entertainment wrestling team. So whoever walks out with those titles will be very telling on who is steering the ship in AEW right now. Is Tony Khan starting to take control back of his company? Is WB starting to get into the ear of Tony Khan and tell him, look, you can't cuss so much, can't have so much violence, can't have so much blood, can't do so much crazy shit. And by the way, the two guys that are dancing in the ring, let's push those guys. It'll be interesting. It'll be very telling. The next week or two with Adam Cole and MJF, if they keep that train moving, it will be extremely interesting to me to see that AEW is pivoting away from just speaking to an IWC audience and possibly trying to open up and bring in a broader spectrum of audience. The second thing I have to talk about AEW this week is it's an analogy that I kind of thought up while peeking in on Blood and Guts. And it's a new analogy. I made it up completely. It just kind of hit me as I was watching it. And I wanted to tell it to the CWC and see what you guys think about it. AEW is like a carnival, whereas WWE is more like a theme park. It's more like Disneyland. See, because in AEW, you know that the ride has a couple screws missing. You know that you're not completely safe. And you can enjoy it. You could get your ass on that roller coaster, but you're taking a risk. And you know it's being run by a bunch of shady carnies like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, but you can still watch it. You can still be entertained, even though you know behind the scenes there's shenanigans. It's crooked. There's nefarious things going on. Whereas WWE is not getting off easy here. WWE is the big polished theme park, right? It's like Disneyland. It's big, it's beautiful, everything's very well put together, but the problem with WWE is that they don't give two fucks about the people that are watching the product. They have their vision. They're going to roll with their vision. They're going to do what they think is right. And you're just going to either come along for the ride, or if you jump off and you don't want to be a part of it, they don't care. The train just keeps moving. So it's interesting to me. I know there's tribalism, and I hate the idea that people go, you should just be a fan or tribalism exists. It's why people are certain fans of certain sports team. We're wired like that as human beings to cheer for a side, right? Team WWE, Team AEW. It's just natural. But the reality is it's just two different evils. I understand that. You have the big conglomerate and you have the carnival. And I thought that was interesting. It was a thought that came to my head and I wanted to share it, and I wanted to get everybody's thoughts on that. But I will say in all of that, AEW Collision has me feeling like it's a breath of fresh air lately. It's different. I haven't seen enough of it to give it its medals and awards and put it on the spectrum where it falls, but I am enjoying the ride that it currently presents, and I'm interested to see where it goes moving forward. Let's do a new segment that I thought up last week called "What Does It All Meme?" All right, so this week's meme comes from wrestling underscore Regal. And this is a meme asking which World Heavyweight Championship has the best design. Is it the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, the NXT title, or the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship? I will place a poll on YouTube and on TikTok for you guys to vote. Let me know, and we will reveal the results next week, and maybe I'll tell you guys which one I like. All right, so this is the part of the show where I discuss the best of what I saw in the casual community Discord, the dirt sheets, and the wild world of wrestling forums. And in true WWE fashion, we are allowed to have as many main events as we want because fuck it, words don't have a meaning anymore in pro wrestling. This is our main events. All right, so we have 4 topics to hit this week, starting with number 1 and Dave Meltzer responding to Seth Rollins calling his star rating silly. I don't want to go real deep into this topic because I really don't give 2 shits about Dave Meltzer's star rating system or how Seth Rollins feels about it. But basically, the gist of what happened is Seth Rollins went on Logan Paul, basically said that Dave Meltzer's rating system is silly because, he doesn't agree with the number of stars that most matches get. Dave Meltzer came back in response to that and said, look, it's just like any movie critic, any food critic. It's all opinion, and it's just a number system that was developed by Jim Cornette, and it's just a different way to say good, better, best, great, whatever. But what that that kind of got me into for the topic this week was I would like to come up with a counter system to the Dave Meltzer star rating system, because his system favors so heavily that indie style of wrestling that's why people disagree, is because there's a mainstay of casual fans and just regular wrestling fans who don't like the same things that Dave Meltzer likes. And I think that like the temperature of just the casual wrestling Discord is typically different. I think that the casual wrestling community would tend to give Seth Rollins a higher rating than somebody like Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega or Adam. I don't want to throw Adam Cole into this, but guys like that, right? So what I want to do in the next couple weeks is go into the Discord. I'm going to create a section for this, and it's going to be the casual wrestling match rating system, and we're not just going to jump into it. First, we're going to set the ground rules, we're going to set the parameters, we're going to figure out the system, whether it's stars, whether it's ring bells, but we're going to come up with a fair system to rank all matches that we watch together and give them the casual wrestling score that I assume is going to be kind of the anti-Dave Meltzer scoring system. So I want, if you're not a part of the Discord, join the Discord right now so that you could jump into this conversation and help us. We'll try and pioneer a rating system that is more friendly to guys like Seth Rollins and LA Knight and Roman Reigns and still yet fair to people like Kenny Omega and IWC type guys. The second main event of the week is my boy Goss in the Discord dropped a little gem for us to talk about this week. And he asked, could we do a Mount Rushmore, not of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but of our personal favorite wrestlers? And this question hit me a little differently because I thought that should be easy. And then so what I did is I grabbed my phone and I knocked out a list here, and I had 9 names that I really wanted to consider to talk about my personal favorites in pro wrestling. And those names were Alberto Del Rio, don't judge me, CM Punk, The Rock, Damian Sandow, AJ Lee, Christian Cage, Jericho, as interesting as this is, LA Knight, even all time, and Bianca Belair. So I had to whittle this list down. I knew for sure my all-time favorite wrestler, the person who kept me involved in wrestling probably the most, is CM Punk. So he goes number 1 on that list. His name's cemented in my wrestling history forever. Even though he keeps doing shit that I question, he's still there's a presence about CM Punk that I enjoy when I'm watching pro wrestling. It's why I like Collision, I'm sure. After that, I got to look back to the Attitude Era. And I think that you're either Stone Cold guy, a Rock guy, and sometimes you have Triple H and Undertaker guys. But I'm a Rock. I'm a Dwayne guy. I was a big fan of The Rock. So I think the second name on my list is going to be The Rock. I'm going to go CM Punk and The Rock. Now, third got interesting. Because I think it came down to, and people are going to laugh at this, but I think it came down to Bianca Belair and AJ Lee. And there was a part of me that really, really, really wanted to go Bianca Belair. but I went back and rewatched a little bit of AJ Lee, and just it kind of brought me back to, like, she was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So third on my list, AJ Lee. Book it. CM Punk, The Rock, AJ Lee. Now last got interesting. It was between Christian Cage, Chris Jericho, and Damian Sandow. And to be real honest with you, Damian Sandow is somebody who I think is the most underappreciated, underrated wrestler of all time. Argue with me, I don't care. That's just how I feel. I think that he got over so many times in so many different gimmicks and just never was given that path to success. So fourth on my list ultimately ended up being Damian Sandow. So my Mount Rushmore of my personal favorite wrestlers is CM Punk, The Rock, AJ Lee, and Damian Sandow. That leads me to the third main event of the night, which is, what are my top 5 theme songs in WWE right now? I saw this in one of the wrestling Reddits. Simple, not going to take a lot of time on this. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. 2, Rhea Ripley. 3, LA Knight. 4, Roman Reigns. 5, Shotzi. That's it. Those are my top 5. And the fourth main event that I wanted to talk about this week is an interesting article I saw that kind of just got the gears ticking up top. There was an article that asked the question, has the North American title in NXT become more important than the actual NXT title? And I think that's an interesting question to ask, because the reality is, love him or hate him, which I'm neither. I'm indifferent about Dominic Mysterio. I have my strong opinions, but I don't dislike Dominic Mysterio, and I don't think he's bad at what he does. I think he's over with the crowd. But he definitely has given a presence. I don't know that he's elevated, but he's given a presence and an awareness to the North American title that didn't exist pre-Dominic Mysterio. And seeing that title on Monday Night Raw, and seeing that title on Friday Night SmackDown, and knowing that title is traveling all around the country and being featured on main television programs, you have to ask the question right now, do more people, more casual wrestling fans, know about the North American champion, Dominic Mysterio, or do they know about the current NXT champion, Carmelo Hayes? Look, I'll be real honest with you. I don't know a lot about Carmelo Hayes. I'm not an avid NXT watcher. I'm planning to try and get into it at some point. I'm going to American Bash this Sunday, but I can't say that I have a strong, deep knowledge of the product. What I do know, I know who Dominic Mysterio is. I'm seeing that North American Championship on TV on a weekly basis. I think that you can make the argument. I think it's safe to make the argument right now that the North American Championship from NXT is currently more important than the actual NXT title. That's a fair argument. You guys let me know what you think, but I think at this point in time, that's an absolutely fair argument to make. All right, let's finish off the show with our Power 10. This week, we did an overall WWE Power 10 listing. That includes tag teams, factions, NXT, WWE, anybody you could think of, anything you want to name could and was capable of making this list. And after running the numbers, I think we didn't get as many, there weren't as many votes this week. You guys, you got to jump in if you want to alter this list, because I did notice in running the numbers, I originally didn't add my list. And when I added my list, things jumped around. So every vote counts when it comes to the casual Power 10. But this week's Power 10 will go 10-1. At number 10, we have Cody Rhodes scored 5 points, which is interesting. When it comes to just an entire landscape of WWE, it feels like to me Cody is slipping the wrong direction. At number 9, Alpha Academy with 8 points. Very telling when Alpha Academy rises over Cody Rhodes. At number 8, and this is probably due to a 7-match losing streak, LA Knight. Number 7, We have Gunther scored 17 points. At number 6, Dirty Dom tied Gunther with 17 points, so it's a tie for 6 and 7. Damian Priest scored 22 points to claim 5th place. Seth Rollins had 32 points to claim 4th place. Jey Uso scored 38 points to claim 3rd place. Leaves us with 1st and 2nd place. Very interesting here. This is telling. This is telling right now. With the number 2 spot on the Casual Power 10, Roman Reigns scored 40 points, which leaves us with our number 1 ranked WWE superstar this week, Rhea Ripley, scoring 42 points. But that is all I have for you guys this week. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube or on your favorite podcast network. You can chime in on all of today's topics in the Casual Community Discord. There are threads for each topic now where you can go in and discuss whatever I talked about today. Tell me how wrong I was. Tell me how right I am. Just say what's up, whatever you want to do. Make sure to send me an invite or follow me on all social media. I'm trying to get more active on social media. That is at NotoriousNerdyD on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. And as always, at the end of this very casual podcast, we like to say, ring the final bell.
Step in the ring, if you ready, let's go. Ay, casual wrestling community show. You already know, talking WWE. Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious NerdyD. Dope show that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit 'em with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like the show, but you